back from the break, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to enter the competition so that you can stand yourself a chance to win 2 gigs of data. Thank you so much, Thando, and over to you.
Thanks, Yuni. We are continuing, boys and girls, with our exam guide. We are now going to move straight into looking at our section C, which is our essay. Like I said earlier on, section C has got 2 questions, question 5 and question 6. You are required to attempt only 1 question in this section. Right. Essay type questions should be 2-folded, with the main part, which has 26 marks, and the additional part that has 10 marks, as outlined in the table on the next slide. Now let's go to the next slide. Let me explain. So our essay contains an introduction, a main part, and an additional part, and a conclusion. Now let's look at our introduction and what it involves. The introduction carries 2 marks in the exam, and the 2 marks are, right, a good introduction is a good starting point. It would need to define a concept or a key word or that appears in the question there. So you need to define a concept or a key word that appears in the question. For example, if you are given maybe an essay on markets, you can define what is a market. A market is a mechanism where buyers and sellers meet to exchange goods and services. That would be a good 2 marks in your introduction. So you have defined a key concept there, which is a market. Again, include other sentences to support your topic. Do not include in your introduction any part of the question. So you are not allowed to repeat any part of the question in your answer in the introduction there. Right? Again, you need to be careful, boys and girls, that you do not repeat any part of the introduction in the main body. So if you have already tackled something in the introduction, you are not going to earn marks if you repeat it again in the main body. Right, avoid saying in the introduction what you are going to discuss in the main body. Like I said to you, boys and girls, a good part or a good introduction is to define. Define a term, define a word there in your essay question. That normally carries the 2 marks that you need for that part of the essay question. Then we move on, we look at the main part. Like I said to you guys, this is typically asked as discuss in detail or in depth or examine or critically discuss or analyze, compare, evaluate, distinguish, differentiate, explain, assess, debate. This carries 26 marks in the exam, right? And you need to make sure that you write in point form and you also write full sentences. A lot of the learners make the mistake of writing point form and writing in points and not expanding their sentences. Make sure that you write in point form, but you expand full sentences there, right? And then we move on. We've got the additional part there, which normally carries words like give your opinion, critically discuss, evaluate, critically evaluate, calculate, deduce, compare, analyze, distinguish, interpret, briefly debate, how, suggest. This one carries 10 marks, and it's normally linked to the additional part, but the question is a separate question and should be treated as such. Learners make the mistake of mixing and answering the main body and the additional part as one questions. Please separate them, and you can even write additional part and underline. Then you need to show that you are now tackling the additional part of the essay. Don't attempt them as one question. Now we move on to the conclusion part of the essay. This is a higher order conclusion that should include a brief summary of what you've already discussed in the essay without necessarily repeating facts already mentioned. Right here, we need an opinion or a value judgment on the facts that you've already discussed. A good point, boys and girls, would be additional support information to strengthen the discussion or the analysis that you have made in the essay. Right? A contradictory viewpoint with motivation if it is required, especially for evaluate kind of questions in the essay where you were required to evaluate. Remember, an evaluate question requires you to give arguments for and arguments against. So in the conclusion there, you can make a contradictory viewpoint with motivation if required. This carries 2 marks in the exam, and which gives our total for the essay 40 marks. So the essay carries a total of 40 marks there. Right, let's continue with our essay. Right, when you are answering the main part of the essay, you should write headings, subheadings, and provide examples for a maximum of 8 marks there. Right, this is how we mark, right, the essay in the exam. Right, in the main body carries 26 marks. Right, this 18 marks, these are the points that support the question, whatever the question is there. And then a maximum of 8. This one, the 8 is for, like I said, headings and also examples that you might give there. So remember, as you are writing your essay in the exam, please show your headings. I would advise that you boys and girls underline your headings and also show your examples. The word e.g. should not be foreign to you. Say, for example, this. Let's say you are discussing markets in the exam. Give examples of your discussion there. It carries a maximum of 8. If a learner is to explain without headings and appropriate examples, the essay is going to be marked at a maximum of 18 marks. Do not lose the 8 marks in the exam, boys and girls there. Right? Explanations and discussions should be written in point or bullet form in full sentences. I've already said this to you guys. You need to make sure that your explanations are in point form, but the point form should be in full sentences. It sounds contradictory, but what I'm saying is, do not write your essays like you write essays in your languages. Right? If you write a point and where you end, put a full stop there, go to the next line, and begin another discussion. This makes it easy for the markers to be able to identify your points so that you do not lose any marks there because they are not able to find your explanations. Graphs and illustrations should have an appropriate heading and be labeled and plotted correctly. If you just draw a graph or you have an illustration and it does not have a heading, you do not earn marks for any graphs and any explanations that do not have, or illustrations that do not have an appropriate heading there. Right. When we move on to the additional part of the essay, it should be of a higher order, cognitive level. Like, for example, the kind of questions you can expect here are questions like how can, why does, evaluate, analyze, how successful is, propose or suggest, etc., etc. Right. Typically, for evaluate kind of question, boys and girls, I would suggest that you write arguments for and also arguments against, then be able to draw an appropriate conclusion. I normally say to the learners, there is no right or wrong answer there. As long as you are able to support your argument with facts that are given, you will earn full marks there. So please remember, you can even write in the exam arguments for, and you also write arguments against, right? Or you say successes, then you say failures. Then you state your arguments for and your arguments against. You will earn full marks there. So please remember again to draw your own conclusion there, right? So that you earn your full marks. You should indicate the following when responding to an essay. Show that this is the introduction. Show that this is the main body. Show that this is the additional part. And also show that this is the conclusion. Like I'm saying to you, boys and girls, do not be shy in the exam to write introduction, main body, conclusion. So when you get in the exam, write introduction and underline. Then you have your introduction, like I said, it's your definition, etc., etc. Skip a line, write main body, and then you write your main body, like I said, in point form, fully explained with headings and examples. Then you move on, you skip a line, you write additional part, then you write your additional part there, right? You evaluate, you draw your conclusion, underline again, and then you skip a line, then you write your conclusion there. Right, speaking on the conclusion to your essay should be on the main body. So it should be on the main question that was asked in the essay, so you are concluding on the rest of the essay. Right, before I leave, boys and girls, I just want you to remember, in order for you to be able to earn full marks, Do not leave blank spaces, especially for multiple choice, for the mix and match in question 1.2, even for your 1.3, that a lot of you guys find difficult. The first term that pops to your mind when you read the question, just jot it down somewhere in the question paper. It's usually the right one. And as you enter for your paper 1, make sure you've got your calculator, you've got your pencil and your ruler, just in case there are any diagrams that you might need to tackle. Remember to know your basic knowledge. What is the current interest rate? What is our VAT rate? Who is our governor? Who is our finance minister? And things like that. Economics is about the daily issues that we face on a daily basis. That's it from me, boys and girls. All the best as you write your paper 1. Over to you, Noni.
Thank you, Tando. Matrix, I hope you enjoyed the lesson and you got as many tips and tricks to tackle your exam. We're wishing you everything of the best, and please send us questions or comments if there's anything we can help you with. Congratulations to all of our winners who will be announced on Facebook after this show. Don't forget to check out our schedule on www.wazamatrix.co.za so you can see when your next subject will be playing. Well then, from me, Luni, Tando and Nicolene, thank you and goodbye.